Hi, hello, it's me, Julian Greystoke, author and developmental editor, and longtime author tuber. I've done a lot of videos on this channel talking about the writing process, tips and tricks for writing, all of that good stuff. But the other day I had somebody ask me, hey, I have gotten so far in my writing process, do you have any videos about what's next? Do you have any videos about the entire thing from idea to publication? And I'm like, maybe I do, because I've been doing this for like 7 years, but honestly, if I do, it's probably older. Sorry, it's really hot in here and we don't have central air. Why not do a new one? Because hey, something may have changed in the way that I do it, I may have some new updates, and quite frankly, nobody watches your old stuff, so you just gotta keep putting out new stuff that's actually the old stuff, just newer now. YouTube is great. So let's talk about what I just said. Let's talk about writing books from beginning to end, idea to publication, because I have 3 published books right now, working on more, of course, always working. But if you'd like to purchase any of my books, you can find them available now on Amazon, or if you want to read my work for free and get a taste of what my style is like, I do have some stuff over on Wattpad. That stuff has not been professionally edited, so, you know, be warned. Now, of course, I am just one writer. I am only going to be able to share with you my own experiences and how I do it, and perhaps some ideas about how I've seen other people doing it, but not a hard and fast, this is how you must do it, because there isn't one of those. There are no true rules about how you have to make a book from idea to publication. There just aren't.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Every author is different, and I am not the god of writing. So let's talk the idea phase, and this is where already my method is going to get pretty different from other people's, because I am a pantser, I don't plot. But normally in this phase you would get some type of inspiration, and plotters, which make up the majority of people who write books, will sit down and work out some type of outline. Sometimes it is very complex, sometimes it is not. There are all sorts of charts and helpful methods and books about outlining out there in the world, so if that's something that you're interested in, my channel is not the best place to find that, but there are so many resources out there for you, how to get started making your outline. If you are a pantser like me, you just kind of have to figure out through experience what level of excitement and knowledge you need to get started drafting. Because for me, I personally have to have met some of the characters. Usually the characters show up first and they're like, write me a book. And I'm like, well, okay, what's your book about? And I get some ideas for world building, and I usually know like the climax of the story, what's the ending. And that's about it when I start writing. That's all I need. Some people need more, some people need nothing. So that's a bit of trial and error if you are a pantser like me, getting started and figuring out like, what do I need before I can start drafting a book? But then comes drafting. I draft in order, meaning I start at the beginning and I go all the way through to the end. I do not draft out of order. Some people can do that. I am not some people. I think that only a certain subset can do that successfully, and I am a big proponent of reminding myself and others that we are not the exceptions to the rule, so definitely try both and see what you're good at. But if you can't draft out of order, don't feel bad, neither can I. I think the key here is if any of the methods that I suggest are not resulting in a finished book for you, then maybe you need to try a different method until you find the one that gives you results. But anyway, you go along the drafting process. I also only draft one book at a time. I had to make that rule for myself when I was much younger, because if I tried to draft more than one book at a time, neither of them would get finished, you know, the results. So I had to be honest with myself. Do I want results? Then I have to be strict and force myself to only draft one book at a time. However, not everybody is that way, and lots of people can draft multiple books at a time. So again, something to find out about yourself. Are you that sort of person? Look at the results. So you've drafted a book, you have written the end for the first time, and this is where you celebrate, you get all excited, and this is also where a lot of people stop and go, what now? This is the part that I feel like a lot of people see as this big blank nothing where there is really no roadmap. And there are lots of things that you can do from here, but there are several key things that I would strongly recommend. Remember, there are always exceptions to the rule, but you shouldn't assume that you are one. At least not until you've had a lot of experience. So, when I finish a draft, the first thing I do is go back through it. Now, some people believe in letting the book rest, and that is totally fair. It probably is very successful for a lot of people. I do let my book rest, but most people recommend doing it for like months, maybe even a year, and I'm like, nah. I let my book rest maybe for a couple of weeks. It just depends. It depends on if I'm working on anything else at the time. But I tend to let my book rest for a short time before I go back in and start my first developmental editing pass. This is the type of editing where we fix things like characters being out of character, not enough foreshadowing, plot holes, scenes that don't need to be there, scenes that need to be beefed up. We look for underwriting, we look for overwriting, we look for flow. And a lot of people break these up. Some people just do the big things first and then they go back in and do the smaller sentence level things. I kind of do them both at once. That's just down to preference, which works for you. I will go back in and change really big things. Like if I know by the time I've gotten to the end of the book that I need to add a scene in chapter 1, I'll go in and add that scene before I start my like full pass through of the book. But other than that, I just kind of do it all at once. And I do that at least one time, probably twice, usually twice, before I get to what I feel is one of the most important things that you can do as a writer. Let other people see it. Get critique. This is scary. This is horrifying. This is the unknown for a lot of people. You're gonna hear things about your book that you won't agree with at first, that you don't want to hear. Because everybody, once you've done something as difficult as writing a book, wants it to be perfect, wants it to be flawless, wants everybody to love it, but you are too close to it. I am too close to it. We are all too close to our own book to tell what's wrong with it. And that is why we get other eyes on it, as many as possible. And I'm not talking just your friends, I'm not talking just your family. You need to get strangers' eyes on your book. Friends and family can totally come too. I find it endlessly helpful and reassuring to have my mother read the book because she usually loves it, and it's nice to just have somebody I know is going to like it, just to sort of soften the blow of all the people who are pointing out the things that are wrong with it. That's perfectly fine. You just need to make sure that you also have people who are pointing out things that are wrong with it. And that is where we talk developmental editors like myself and beta readers. Now, I am a developmental editor. That is the sort of person that you hire to go through your book and tell you all of the issues that it's having with plotting, pacing, characters, plot holes. All of that stuff we just talked about that you have to do yourself, you now have to send to somebody else to do because you're too close to it. You can't see it. It's impossible. I can't see it. You can't see it. None of us can see it. So you can hire somebody like myself to do that. Also, you can get what we in the biz call beta readers, and I will never publish a book unless it has been to beta readers first, because I know that I do not see the flaws in it. I might see some of the flaws, but I can't see all of them. I need to send it to other people. And you can do both of these things, hire a developmental editor and get beta readers, or you can do one of them. Of the two, if you absolutely cannot do both, I would lean you towards beta readers, which seems backwards because I'm gonna talk myself out of some jobs here, because I do want you to hire me as your developmental editor. But if you can only do one, I feel, my opinion, it is better to get more eyes on the project versus only paying one person to look at the project. Because while I may have a lot of expertise and may be able to help you out a great deal with your book, I am only one person, one set of eyes, and you want to get lots of eyes on your project if you can. The good news is that beta readers are usually free. You will see people taking money to be beta readers. I don't personally agree with that, but I'm not going to get into a big argument if people want to do that. If you want to hire beta readers, you can, but beta readers tend to not be experts. A developmental editor usually has a lot more experience, usually has some credentials to back themselves up, whereas beta readers are just people off the street, ordinary readers. Sometimes they're fellow writers, sometimes they're just readers. You just want to have as many people looking at your book as possible and pointing out issues that it might have. Why so many people? Well, the more people that you have, the more patterns you can see emerging. If one person says that this scene isn't working, but everybody else loves the scene, then it's probably that one person that the scene isn't working for, instead of the scene not working at all. For example, in my last book, Adventurer Mage, I had a scene that wasn't working. I didn't have enough details in the scene. I, as the author, knew what details I meant to have in the scene, but hadn't actually managed to get them in there enough for a reader. And multiple beta readers pointed that out to me, and I was like, aha! More than one person has said it, it's probably true. I need to go in there and add some more details that I thought I was adding, but I failed to add. So getting lots of eyes on it is super important. I do have, I think, a video about finding beta readers. I probably should revamp that one. But generally, I find most of mine through YouTube, so I'm a little bit unusual. But they can be found. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them on Goodreads. You can find them on Reddit. I've never found them on Reddit before, but you can find them on Reddit. You can do trades with other authors where you both read each other's books. Just make sure that you're both dedicated to it, because I've heard the horror stories of somebody putting in so much work to critique somebody's book and then the other person like doesn't finish or doesn't leave any helpful notes, just kind of glosses right over it. But yes, this I feel is one of the most important parts of writing a book, is the part where you get other people's eyes on it. Once you have compiled all of this information, I recommend a spreadsheet. That's what I use. Then you can go and decide what you want to change and make those changes. Some people at this point do a second round of beta reads. I usually don't. It depends on how confident you are with your abilities and the changes that you've made. It is perfectly reasonable to get more rounds of betas or to get a second opinion by hiring another developmental editor. Perfectly reasonable to do. Or, as a developmental editor, I have people who have hired me to do their first few chapters, and then they edit those chapters and send them to me again to see if their changes were successful. So there's a lot of options for you there. I have had people ask me, like, which should I do first, developmental editor or beta readers? And honestly, I don't think it's a huge thing which way you go, honestly. I personally don't feel it makes a huge difference which one you do first. Other authors might argue with that and say you got to do one or the other first, but to me, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. You're just getting a lot of people's opinions, but the person that you pay is hopefully more experienced. That's the key. All right, now that you have gotten the beta thoughts, you potentially hired a developmental editor, you've made the changes, now what? Well, this is where you can do just a little bit more tweaking if you want to. For example, if you are writing, say, a gay character and you are not gay, and especially if your, say, beta readers have pointed out some things, now might be the time to hire a sensitivity reader. I have used them in the past. I quite enjoyed my experience. I found it very helpful, so I recommend using it. Some people swear up and down, don't do it, oh, don't do it, you don't need one. But if you get one and you listen to them, I think it'll make your book better for it. However, not every book needs a sensitivity reader, so think about yours and what it might need and whether you're writing so far outside of your own experiences that you might be getting some stuff very wrong in harmful ways. Usually after I have gone through all of the betas and all of that process and I have edited everything again, that is when I go ahead and have my computer text-to-speech. You can do this at any phase. I highly recommend it. There's also printing out the book or reading it aloud to yourself or having a friend read it aloud to you. All of these are viable options. I choose the text-to-speech option because I process things auditorially. I'm dyslexic. So I process things by ear very well. So that helps me like go through it one last time and really make sure there's nothing major or minor that needs fixing that I may have missed. And then, when all of that is finished, I send it to my line/copy editor. This is where I hire someone, for sure, every time. Because a very important thing about knowing yourself is knowing where your deficits are. And I know that I will never be able to catch spelling and grammatical errors like a professional can. I just cannot. I know that about myself. Some people can turn out very clean works. without having to hire somebody. I am not some people. And you should probably not assume that you're some people either, unless you really have a lot of experience with like copy editing. And even then, again, because you're so close to it and you know what you mean to say, it is easier to miss spelling errors, the wrong words, grammatical snafus, stuff like that. And especially if you're self-publishing, people can be very unforgiving of those. Now you might be asking, Julian, I'm not self-publishing, I want to traditionally publish. Do I have to go through all this rigmarole to traditionally publish? And I would say yes. A lot of agents are going to turn down your book if it looks unprofessional, unpolished. Some swear up and down that they won't, but they will. Agents are looking for reasons to turn your book down. They're not looking for reasons to keep your book. They're looking for reasons that it's not working for them. So if they see a bunch of spelling and grammatical errors right away, that's probably going to be a tick against you. So I still recommend hiring somebody. And then, if you decide to go this way, if you're like, oh, I decided I don't want to try to traditionally publish this, your book is already ready to go if you decide to self-publish it. But if you are self-publishing it, yes, for the love of God, please get a line/copy editor. Please, 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 I beg of you. Self-publishing has such a negative reputation with spelling and grammar that I have noticed that people, even if my book only has a couple of errors in it, they will still claim that it is swimming in errors just because they are so used to that being a thing in self-publishing. And yes, even if you hire someone, an error or two might slip in. But if I didn't hire someone, woof, oh boy. So do understand going into writing a book that you plan to publish that it's going to cost you money. Hiring a developmental editor, hiring a line or copy editor is going to cost money. And that does suck. Especially for something that you don't know is going to give you any kind of returns, because you have no way of knowing if this book is going to be successful or not. And even if it is successful, it probably won't make really all that much money. Definitely don't get into writing if you're trying to get rich quick. Or get rich slow. Get rich at all. But at long last, you have done everything that you can to your story, and you are ready to move on to the next phase, be that traditional publishing or self-publishing or something in between. If you are traditional publishing, it is time to query, very probably. That means you gotta come up with a query letter, you gotta get all the pieces together. I definitely recommend getting everything as prepped as possible before you start picking out agents. You're gonna wanna research agents, but we're not gonna go super in depth about querying right here, right now, but that is your next step, is querying. Definitely research how to write a query letter. Definitely research how to write a query letter in the current times, because the industry changes. So don't go read how to write a query letter from 2017. You want to know how to write a query letter that agents are liking right now in the year of our Lord Barbie, 2023. But let's say you want to self-publish. Well, then you gotta get down with all of the rigors that come with self-publishing, and I have a video about that too. But mostly it comes down to deciding what you can do and what you need to outsource. For example, I outsource my covers. I very rarely make my own covers. I did for Adventurer Mage because I wanted to see that I could do it, but I'm not hugely good at covers, and I happen to know a cover artist, my sister, who is available for hire if you want to talk to me about that as well. I also know a few artists who might be available for cover art, so let me know. But self-publishing is a lot of figuring out what you can do yourself and what you need to outsource. And I outsource covers, but I do format my books myself. A lot of people outsource formatting. I know there is a program for Mac that is like a template essentially that you can put your book into, but I use PC, so I don't have that. So I am teaching myself to format. The insides of my books may not be super pretty yet, but hey, at least they are legible. So it's up to you what you want to learn, what you want to outsource, what you can afford, and move forward from there. The only thing I'm gonna recommend is probably don't use AI art. Like, if you can't afford to hire a cover artist, maybe save up for a little while and hire one. Don't use the robot, please, because it's stealing other people's art to make your cover, and we don't We don't want that. But also, you can make covers for free on Canva, which is what I did, because that art is not stolen, so you have options if you want to create your own cover. But yes, there are lots of things that you got to figure out if you need to outsource, and then you can decide how you want to publish. I use Amazon because it's quite frankly the easiest thing out there. You can also use Ingram Spark, but I have heard the tales of authors going into battle with Ingram Spark and how just confusing and deeply exhausting that is. And I don't need that. I don't need that. It's hard enough as it is. I don't need to go to war with some program. I fight with Amazon enough as it is, and Amazon is super easy. Then you've got yourself a published book out in the world. You're definitely going to want to do some advertising for it beforehand. You're going to want to try to do some marketing. I'm not the one to ask about good marketing because I am so bad at it. But the more that you can build your platform before your book comes out, the better. So there's a whole lot of things to consider, like what kind of platform you want to have, a blog, a vlog, a YouTube channel, a TikTok, whatever. Decide what you want, what brings you joy, and focus on using that, and try to spread the word about your book before it comes out. But yes, hopefully, eventually you have a book that is coming out and you have done it from beginning to end. I know it seems daunting. It is really stressful when you find out that when you write the end on your first draft, you're not even kind of close to halfway done with getting it to a published state. There is more that comes after you have finished the actual job of writing the book than there is writing the book most of the time, especially if you're a pantser like me and you don't do a lot of planning beforehand, so you don't have like that front-loaded area of stuff to do. I hope this video was helpful. Please comment below and let me know if I've forgotten anything, if there's any details that you wanted me to cover that I didn't cover here, or anything that you think that I just don't know enough about and you have experience with. Please comment below and let me know, because as I have struggled to iterate again and again through this video, I am just one person with one set of experiences. So go forth and find people who are having experiences like yours and talk to them about their journeys. I don't know why I'm like low-key losing my voice right now, because I have not been filming a lot of videos today, so I don't know what's going on. It's probably pollen. But anyway, I have a lot of stuff to get done today. I gotta go shopping and get some horse grain. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget that you can support me over on Patreon. That helps me afford to both live and feed my pets, and also helps me afford to publish my own books. Those books you can purchase now on Amazon, so go check them out if you want to see if I'm any good. Like I said, I have so many videos on this channel that might go further into depth about any of the topics I talked about today, so go check those out. I have all of the writing ones in a playlist. Just feel free to binge away to your heart's content. If you like what you saw here and you want to support it monetarily, but you don't want to go through the hassle of Patreon, I have a Ko-fi for that. I also, as I mentioned, am a developmental editor, so if you're at that phase in your writing and you're ready to hire somebody, you could hire me. I know that finding a developmental editor is like confusing and super daunting because there's so many options out there, and you're just wandering around going, who do I hire and how do I know? Well, you know me. And you probably, if you've watched my channel, have a pretty good idea of my style. Plus, I have a video all about me developmental editing a story by ChatGPT so you can get a feel for my style. Now my memory card's about to run out, so I need to finish this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
Hello. 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 Hello.
And now I would like you to say hello to my patrons. Patrons like Sunnyshy, Saga, Sarah, Kat, 78 Kilograms of Shade, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Pansing Pony, Julius the Nice Dragon, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaro, Mooney, Maria, Kristen, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Lauren, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, KJ, Lafone, Amanda, Celia, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, The Unraveled Legion, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah. I hope you gave them all a very hearty hello.